back to the round table. We stopped at, Dr. Mills, you were emphasizing something. If you'll just take and bring us back where we were.
Yeah, sometimes in ministry, you know, we think in terms of our own time. And but as we grow in ministry, as we grow in God, God teaches us to think of the kingdom of God beyond our time of service. And so to do that, we are always supposed to be looking for young men and women that God has already grooming up under you. And we are supposed, not just the pastor, but the laity, you know, we are supposed to be looking and grooming and preparing and encouraging young men and women, you know, to follow the call of God on their lives and nurture them and give them the encouragement they need. But on the other hand, the younger ministers have to be humble enough, you know, to come under authority, as Bishop Lewis was saying. And if any race of people need long-term thinking, it's our people.
Yes.
Because but it won't happen if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
And so we are only going to serve a certain amount of time. And when our time is up, God is going to call us home. But before that, hopefully, we've got a plan in place, and the church doesn't have to suffer, and we just pass that mantle on. And you say, take authority
Right.
of the church of God and move the church forward.
You know, for me, for many years, in this city, I've gone to several pastors. Dr. Lewis and I have talked, Pastor Franklin, all of us have gotten together because I understand the dynamics of what pastoring consists of. When you turn to your parishioner, you risk a whole lot.
Yes, Lord.
Especially if you're going through a transition of a life, relationship, you know, their thoughts. It's not that they can't have a word of understanding, but you need that upper level support because once you share with them, now they start looking at you every Sunday, every Wednesday on how you dealing with the situation.
Analyzing you.
Analyzing it. So, and then if you don't follow through what they think you should have done, it can be chaotic.
Yes.
So I learned when I went 4 years of marriage and divorce, and I didn't have a lot of pastors to turn to because there was a word out of whatever they thought, but it wasn't true. But I'm not the one to explain myself because I know what the real deal was. But the truth matter is this, that if we don't talk to somebody, things like suicide does happen. When I went through I was doing everything I can to get out of the city. I was trying to relocate the church, and God allowed my back to go out. I had to come back and continue the journey, you know. But it's been people like Pastor Franklin, Dr. Allen, we've talked many times, Dr. Mills. You know, those are the type of relationship you have to have in place and be okay.
I agree that you got to have that person, whether it is you're thinking of depression or you're going through depression. And as a counselor, mental health is very important for pastors. And that's something that we don't look toward is mental health. We'll go to the doctor for high blood pressure or diabetes, but we will not take care of our mental health. And mental health is, somebody said on the panel, just laughter, having fun, riding your bike, whatever it takes just to go bowling, to be human. And I think that's a key to what keeps us healthy as pastors.
I think
I
also,
got 10 bikes. Anybody want to ride with me?
let me save y'all.
Please do.
I think that what you were talking about as far as the pastors, you all having that role as the leader, and like I was talking about the weight of your jobs, everyday pressures, depression is something that pastors deal with, but because the stigma behind it, they're unable to either turn to others and let them know that I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling the hurt. And a lot of times, sometimes because we aren't able to deal with the pressure of life, you know, we're not effective in our ministry and pastoring. You know, because you got to know that it's going to come out somewhere. It's going to affect you in some place. I'm like, wherever you seed is in the ground, when it breaks through, it's going to sprout something. And so when you don't have the, I call safe haven, a place to be able to be nurtured, I believe that this is what we were talking about, the gentleman that committed suicide, and we knew the pastors, a couple of pastors in this city that had committed suicide, that if they just had a place of safety, a place that they felt like, I'm going to be okay when I get to you. Do you all feel like you got a place that you can go to? And I know you were talking, Dr. Lewis, that you have a pastor for your pastors, which is like a covering.
Yes.
But like children, you don't want to tell your daddy, some things you want to talk to your siblings about.
Yes.
You don't necessarily want to talk to your parents about, because siblings will understand you at the level of a sibling. And so I kind of look at it like that when you're talking on this level. Although you could tell your pastor about the spiritual aspects and the heart matters and stuff like that, and of course he'll give you a word and he'll give you the encouragement, but you still got to go back. And some coverings are not even nearby; they're far and they're distant. I think my topic today is, the binding of the heart of pastors, because no one knows it like you all know it. And if I think pastors understood that, the one sitting right next to me is going through the very exact same thing that I'm going through.
And that's why I believe it is necessary that we develop relationships with those who are having the same challenges that we are having, or to develop the kind of relationships so that our spirit can glean from the other spirit, that we need someone, because the mental part of us, the stress, the anxiety, the frustration, it's just a thought away. And it happens to all of us at some time.
Yes.
But if we have right relationship, then we will be able to have people that we can talk to and find out how safe we can be. And yet that covering that I mentioned, the covering of having a pastor, having a spiritual leader who we can go to, who can maybe guide us to someone that we can talk to, because they know all kinds. Because one of the problems that we have is understanding that we are carrying the weight of all of the members of our congregation.
Exactly.
With all of the weight that we're carrying, who's carrying us? So that's why the covering is so necessary. That's why the relationship and the accountability is so important, because we need someone that we can go to when we have everybody else already on us, that sometimes drive us to thinking the wrong thoughts, doing the wrong thing, believing the wrong things, and ultimately saying, well, I'm out of here, when our mission is really not complete.
Exactly.
That stress thing is you mentioned that stress thing, that silent killer. And some of us in this room carry the mantle of being a pastor's pastor. And they come to us and now you've got the congregation, the community congregation, now you got other pastors pulling at you. And when that is happening, my God, and this is the question, we talked about the fellowship and the development of the friendship. When do we drop that thing, the boundaries, so that we can allow Bishop Lewis to come into Crockett's life? You see what I'm getting at?
I do, Pastor, and something that comes to my mind is, and when John the Baptist was in prison,
That's right.
It wasn't long after he got his questions answered that he was beheaded.
That's right.
And when the news of his reached his disciples,
That's right.
Jesus just happened to be there. And he shared with them, listen, guys, the tragedy that you just experienced, you need to come aside.
That's right.
Take some rest.
That's right.
Get some relaxation.
Break away from
Break away from
Yeah.
all of the work that you've been doing and come rest a while.
come rest.
And rest a while. And I've discovered, and I think Prophet Powell and I talked about this at one point, one of the things that we don't do is remember that we have family.
That's right.
Remember that we do have a spouse.
That's good.
And every once in a while, not the whole year, but every once in a while, we need to break away and go and rest. Take a vacation. Everybody takes a vacation but us.
Yes.
Take a vacation. Take some time with your wife. Take some time with the children and the wife. Then take some time with you, just you and the wife. Y'all go and rest. the church is going to be here
Yes.
when
That's
you
it.
return.
That's it.
That's part
And,
of the problem.
and
We
if you
think
don't understand that,
that's right.
then you
That's
got a
right.
problem.
Yes, sir.
So because
Yeah.
of that, we need to put into place a succession
Succession
plan
process, that's
so
right.
that we will be able to know that when it's our time to not die, but just step over
Yeah. That's
right.
and let somebody else carry the mantle.
And see the fruit of your labor.
Yes.
There are
yes, yes.
so many that have worked in the vineyard, but they worked until their dying
Yes,
day
ma'am.
Yeah.
and did not see the fruit of their
their labor.
labor.
That's right.
So back to what to say concerning healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships.
I've got to know the character of my sister and my brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For years, when I first got into CT and Prophet Power, we were at Operation Hope. You know, we're standing out there. You know, we didn't know one another because I came from California. He's already here in the CT. He's a product of Columbus, Georgia. But so we began to conversate with one another. And so for him, he and I to have had a relationship as long as we've had as sisters and brothers, 18, 19, 20 years, it's because we got to know one another.
That's right.
So when we know one another's character,
Yeah.
I know how you flow and you know how I flow.
Yes.
But then you see my flow is stopped. You see I'm not
That's
flowing the
good.
way I normally flow.
That's good.
You should be able to, hey, Andrea, what's going on?
That's
How
Oh,
are
right,
I get-
ma'am.
I get
Right.
that.
you see what I'm
Sure,
saying?
yeah.
And not be high. And this is the problem. There's a lot of hiding going on.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
And when you've got to hide who you are, you've got to hide
Yes.
what's going on with you. It's not healthy.
Right.
Huh?
Exactly.
But as Dr. Mills was talking, hey, you know what? I should be able to just be his sister enough to say, you know what? Something doesn't look
Yes,
like
ma'am.
him today.
That's right.
And if it doesn't look like him today, I'm going to go quietly and nudge on him, you know, and we don't have to just start out talking about, you know, anything but you're hungry. You know,
Right.
let's come to a common ground to where we can have healthy relationships and then we can speak openly with one another without tearing one another down
That's
or
right.
without having distrust and dishonesty. And I feel like if I share something, if I tell you something,
Right.
it's done.
It's done.
Right.
That's right.
Or
Right.
if I go to Reverend Crocker and say, you know what? I call him Rocker. Rocker,
Yeah.
it's not such a thing. Because we're sisters and brothers.
That's right.
So we have that relationship
You don't want me, Dr.
to where he'll
Nothing.
say,
She said,
Andre,
right.
go on somewhere. You know? I said, no,
Yeah.
Rocker, listen to this though.
Yeah.
You know, because now I've got his attention
Yeah.
and he knows, okay, she needs to speak to me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I can say what I need to say. And he'll be like, girl, that ain't nothing.
Right.
Well, okay, then.
Right.
But at least he heard me.
Right.
Heard your voice.
I don't have to hide.
Right.
And that's where the enemy is tricking.
That's
Yes,
right. He's
ma'am.
trying to,
Our sisters and brothers
yeah.
and those that are in leadership position
Right.
is because we're going to this hiding place and we're hiding what we're dealing with, the issues. Let's deal with the issues. Talk about the issues.
And
Yeah.
the other thing
Pray
is,
for one another.
you have to be able to. The only way you're going to get to know a person, you got to spend time.
With them.
Amen.
And the one thing I know about pastors, your schedules are way too booked.
Yeah.
You don't make time,
Yeah.
and you have to make time. We had tried to bring together some
We
pastors
did.
for fellowship, not a group, not an organization.
Right.
Just want to get to know you.
Yes.
Just want to get to know you.
Yes, ma'am.
We labor in the same vineyard. We're doing the same push and pull.
Yeah.
Just want to get to know you. And it is the most difficult thing to do. We cannot get out of what, 12?
Yes.
Yeah.
We could not get but maybe 3 to commit to
Yeah.
just R&R. Being
Yeah.
able to spend some quality time,
That's right.
get to know each other. It doesn't start off like trying to get all in your business like that.
Right.
But if you get to know me, people that know each other don't harm each other.
That's right.
Yeah. And
Yes, sir.
see, I just agree with everything. We have to learn how to trust God with our ministry.
Absolutely.
First of all, it's not our ministry.
Not ours.
It's God's ministry.
That's right.
But we can get so caught up into the I, and I say to folk all the time, it's hell trying to be God.
That's a good one.
But going back to what Dr. Franklin and Dr. Lewis was saying, I know when I need to get out of Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah.
I know. Nobody has to tell me. I know. And sometimes if you got a good relationship with some of your lady, they know when you need to get out too.
Right.
And so this is all the more important because just about all of us here, I call us entrepreneurial pastors. Everybody can't do what you guys did to start a ministry with zero.
No way.
You got to have a certain skill set. You got to have a certain level of faith to walk out there and start something with zero.
Well, it's a calling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so it's all the more important when you are a pastor that started out with nothing. It's all the more important for you to know when you need to get out.
That's right.
And trust it. Release. Like Dr. Lewis, when you get back, it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Trust the work. The labor, the fruit of your labor. Trust the people. If Bishop Blue said, if you don't trust folk, they're not gonna trust you. And so, we just have to know how to do that, and it's everything is just a shot to the 10th degree when you a shepherd and God has called you to build a ministry from zero. It's a whole
nother kind of fight.
Whole nother animal.
Whole nother kind of
You
fight.
got to recognize that. So all of these things we're talking about, like ministers in a connectional church and stuff like that, they move around. They kind of got a system that they can kind of look to. But when you step out with nothing,
Yes.
use it. You and the Lord, you it.
You
And that's
it.
your pressure level is up here.
Yes.
And so it's all the more important to know how balance.
And that's why
How to
even
trust
more
God
important
with
that we all spend time together. Me and Dr. Lewis both doing what we need to do every year. And so often, we had to do a stress test. When I got there, he had a little big bob head shades on. And I said to myself, who that cat is back there? Dr. Lewis, And we sat by
He
each
just dated
other.
both of them.
And
Set that up.
we laughed, we talked,
Yeah.
and we had heart talk because, so often when you go to these conferences, it's not real.
No.
No.
There's no real dialogue there.
No.
But imagine we get together. So let's go to Atlanta for a few days. Just get in a nice hotel, hang out, go eat dinner, spend time together. If members can do that, why can't we do that?
Yes, you got the place, she said. I think it's important that, and like I said, I understand that you have other relationships outside of pastors, but I believe that pastors you all have a common thread that a lot of us will never understand. We can try to follow it, we can try to keep our eye on it, but there's a common thread that all of you all have that binds you all together. You all have the same DNA in this thing because of the pastor role. And I think that your role brings a certain amount of pressures, weights, heaviness. We can't even get into the part of talking about when members shift. When you poured into people and giving them your everything. You giving them everything but your soul.
Yes.
And they walk away as if you've given them nothing.
Yes.
The hurt, see, the rest of us sit on the pew and we okay with that. That was just such and such and such. But to you, you consider a child that you have breathed life into, and given them, you've nurtured this baby. You've been up with them all night, and you rocked them, and you done, you see what I'm saying? I'm talking because
Say that.
I've watched this, that you all have poured, given, not only of your what you give them verbally or spiritually, of your substance.
Yes.
Some of you go in your pockets
Yes, ma'am.
and give. If you really pastoring,
Yes, ma'am.
you coming out your pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
You have not given financially, or some of y'all have given cars. You done put folk in your house. You done let them lay on your beds and but this is the thing that I see that a lot of us won't ever understand. That type of hurt, that type of pain. And although you do carry on, although you do get on with pastoring, but that hurt, that deep wound in there is what I think that you all could share and should be able to come and say, you know what, this person was with me 18 years. And this is hurtful to me. This is a burden.
Dr. Lewis, he know I'm going to go. Tell them what you told me about that, about the bees.
About the what?
He'll explain to you.
Well, one of the things that I've discovered in ministry over these years is that we have to assume responsibility for our actions as pastors. Many times we get into relationships that God did not guide us.
Amen.
That's right.
So we have to assume the responsibility for how that relationship turns out or develops. Only iron sharpens iron.
Come on now.
So then that's why we need to develop relationships with other pastors so that we will be able to be sharpened by someone who is as sharp as we are. Because, as I told Pastor Powell, used to bees don't make any honey. It doesn't matter how much you want honey, you can't get it from a used to be. The used to be is gone. Now, it's necessary that we keep fresh relationships with those who do what we do. In order to do that, we got to understand that the responsibility that belongs to us is that we got to get away from trying to keep up with Reverend Pharaoh. Reverend Pharaoh is not our responsibility. And then I can remember, and if I can share this, hopefully it'll be received with the intent that I'm giving it. I remember once when I went through a serious challenge in ministry that I became angry because different people left. And when those people left, many of them left and carried all of them carried their finances with them,
Yes,
and they
sir.
were helping to support the church.
Yes, sir.
Well, you can't deny from a physical perspective that's important.
Right.
That's important. At the end of the day,
Right.
you need to know how you're going to be able to follow and pay your bills. Well, I went and I talked to some of those people afterwards. We went to dinner, encouraging them to come back. Well, in so doing, I'm thinking that I'm bettering the situation, but not realizing from a spiritual perspective, I'm really making it worse. I'm really making it worse. And that's what a lot of ministers do today. So what happened was the people, some of them came back, and when they came back with more demons than they left with.
Wow.
So then I go to God after the fact.
After the fact.
I go to God after the fact,
That's right.
and I say, God, would you please help them relocate? And here's what God says to me. God says, I got rid of them,
You brought them back.
and you begged them back.
Yeah.
So now that you begged them back, they're your responsibility.
Right.
You deal with that. Many pastors need to understand that many times when God moves people, it is because they're not in their set place. They have come to you to get what God has for them there and then prepare them to move on somewhere else. Because the people don't belong to us.
That's right.
They belong to God.
Right.
And the more we realize that, the better off as pastors we're going to be, the less weights we're going to be carrying around, and the better we're going to be to have time for our family. If I can't pastor my family, I certainly can't pastor all
Yes.
these people out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
If my kids don't have access to me, how can I be trying to tell other kids, kids how to live and parents to teach them?
Right.
So I got to get to the place where I understand my family is important.
Right.
I would not be who I am this day had it not been for my wife.
That's right.
My wife has helped me tremendously for 47 years. And I'm proud to say
Amen.
that she still acts like she's my girlfriend.
All right,
And then sometimes she acts like she's my mother. And then sometimes she acts like she is whoever she wants to be. So I get excited knowing that we have that kind of relationship. So it is important that pastors realize that if you still have a spouse, whether bearing the gender in terms of whether male or female, you need to be able to have a relationship with them that they can be who God intended them to be,
Right.
and that is someone to help you. We know many denominational churches a pastor won't allow their spouses to help them, and it has caused them all kind of
Yeah,
problems.
exactly.
But brothers and sisters on this panel, let me just tell you that if your wife is unable to help you, if you don't have a spouse, then God is still God. Amen. And you can go to him and he will direct you to someone, or he will bring someone into your life who you can identify with, that you can confide in and receive what you need for the days that are coming forth in the very near future. So a lot of our problems come from our not taking responsibility, come from our not being accountable, because how can I follow me? And I'm not trying to be facetious, but how can I follow me? I need someone I can follow on Facebook, on Instagram.
Don't say Facebook.
We see it there. So many people you're following, and so many people that are following you. Well, you don't see you following you on there. And so why is it that we want to try to...
I hope you heard your fellow laborers. I hope you heard their hearts, and that you continue what God has started here, to continue the relationship building, and bind together as one, and know that you are, your brother's keeper, that you are one in the spirit. And so I want to say to my audience, I love pastors. They are from the heart of God. And I think that we need to take care of whatever comes from the heart of God. And so I want to say to all of our persons out there that are watching, love your pastor. Understand that he too or she too has life to live. They've just been called to lead you, and that they need the prayers of the righteous. And if we just uphold them in what they are called to do, this thing will work out. I want to thank all of my guests for being here today. Thank you for your love and your kindness. And we'll see you all again at the round table next week.
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.